So today, at noon Eastern Time, all of the parts distribution facilities at General Motors and Stellantis are being called to stand up and strike. As we've said for weeks, we're not going to wait around forever for a fair contract at the Big Three. The companies know how to make this right. The public is on our side, and the members of the UAW are ready to stand up. Obviously, we're doing things differently this time around. Our stand-up strike strategy is designed to do one thing: win record contracts after years of record profits. We're focused on moving the companies at the bargaining table. That means maintaining our flexibility and our leverage to escalate as we need to. We can and will go all out if our national leadership decides the companies aren't willing to move. Right now, we think we can get there. Stellantis and GM in particular are going to need some serious pushing. Obviously, going on strike isn't something we take lightly, and it's not something we do without a clear strategy to win. So let's talk about our strategy at the Big Three and what's happening in negotiations. As you know, we gave our members' demands to the company 2 months ago. They wasted over a month failing to respond. And there has been some movement. In particularly, this last week, we've made some real progress at Ford. We're not there yet, but I want you to see the direction that Ford is going and what we think that means for our contract fight. So at Ford, the Rawsonville Components and Sterling Axle employees will now be on the same wage scale as assembly workers. We have eliminated that entire wage tier. We've also officially reinstated the cost of living allowance that was suspended in 2009. UAW family, that's important because many people said this couldn't be done, and we just did it. We've also won, for the first time in our history, the right to strike over plant closures during the life of our agreement. I don't have to tell you that this is an important victory in our fight to save our jobs, keep families together, and keep our communities from being gutted. Also at Ford, we've won additional job security for our members in the event of layoff. If that happens, our members, including temporary workers, will now receive income security for up to 2 years with health care. We have moved Ford off of their concessionary formula to cut profit sharing and instead want an enhanced profit sharing formula that would have resulted in a 13.3% increase for average employee in payouts last year. We've won the immediate conversion of all current temps, and all temps will have profit sharing after 90 days service at Ford. And there are no concessions on the table. All that represents serious movement on tiers, on cost of living, on pay, and on job security. But to be clear, we're not done at Ford. We still have serious issues to work through, but we do want to recognize that Ford is showing that they're serious about reaching a deal. At GM and Stellantis, it's a different story. We have won a serious victory at CCA and GMCH, and we have killed those wage tiers. Those workers will now be on the same wage scale as assembly workers. Their first offer was a 0% raise for those workers. But without cost of living allowance, without strong job security, those gains aren't protected. Both companies are still offering a deficient cost of living allowance that is projected to provide 0 increases over the next 4 years. Both of those companies have rejected all of our job security proposals. Both GM and Stellantis have rejected our profit sharing proposals. And both companies have rejected our proposals to convert temps. So today, at noon Eastern Time, all of the parts distribution facilities at General Motors and Stellantis are being called to stand up and strike. We will be striking 38 locations across 20 states across all 9 regions of the UAW. At General Motors, we call on the CCAs at Pontiac, Willow Run, Ypsilanti, Davison Road, Flint, Lansing, Cincinnati, Denver, Hudson, Wisconsin, Chicago, Reno, Rancho Cucamonga, Fort Worth, Martinsburg, Jackson, Charlotte, Memphis, and Philadelphia to stand up and go on strike. At Stellantis, we call on the parts distribution centers at Marysville, Centerline Packaging, Centerline Warehouse, Sherwood, Warren Parts, Quality Engineering Center, Romulus, Cleveland, Milwaukee, Minneapolis, Denver, Chicago, Los Angeles, Portland, Atlanta, Winchester, Orlando, Dallas, New York, and Boston to stand up and go on strike. The plants that are already on strike will remain on strike. That's Local 2250 at GM Wentzville, Local 900 Ford Michigan Assembly, and Local 12 at Stellantis Toledo Assembly. We invite and encourage everyone who supports our cause to join us on the picket line, from our friends and families all the way up to the President of the United States. We invite you to join us in our fight. The way you can help is to build our movement and show the companies that the public stands with us and stands with our elected national negotiators. As promised, we're expecting to stand up strike in response to the lack of progress in bargaining with General Motors and Stellantis. We will shut down parts distribution until those 2 companies come to their senses and come to the table with a serious offer. The members who will join the stand-up strike today are living testament to one of the injustices we are fighting against at the Big Three: tiers. At Stellantis and GM, under the current Mopar and CCA structures, workers at parts distribution centers are permanently stuck on a lower wage scale. For workers hired after 2015, top pay maxes out at just $25 an hour, and it takes 8 years to get there. GM has offered to bring those workers into an assembly wage scale, but without cost of living and job security like we've won at Ford, those members are still at serious risk. This week, the president of GM wrote an op-ed talking about how supposedly great the wages are for 85% of their workers. We fight for 100% of our members, and we are committed to ending tiers across the board. That's just one of our core issues that we're still fighting for as we continue our stand-up strike. So at noon Eastern today, all parts distribution centers at General Motors and Stellantis will be on strike. This will impact these 2 companies' repairs operations, and our message to the consumer is simple. The way to fix the frustrating customer experience is for the companies to end price gouging. Invest these record profits into stable jobs and sustainable wages and benefits. It's that simple. This expansion will also take our fight nationwide. We will be everywhere from California to Massachusetts, from Oregon to Florida. And we will keep going, keep organizing, and keep expanding the stand-up strike as necessary. Across the country, people are going to know that the UAW is ready to stand up for our communities and ready to stand up against corporate greed. And I know more of you are ready to walk. I've seen incredible strike-ready demonstrations across the country. Local 551 and Local 862, we see you. Spring Hill, I know you're ready to go. And Kokomo, stand ready. Stick with us and be prepared. I've also heard of the members standing strong on the job. Remember, it's your right to refuse voluntary overtime. Under an expired contract, management has fewer rights to make unilateral changes. If you see something being changed in your workplace without bargaining, please head to uaw.org/standup and report it. You are our eyes and ears. Our greatest protection we have is each other, and we won't let the big three break the law.